Hey, how you doing, Econ teachers? This is Jacob Clifford. Now, last week I made a video talking about exam corrections. Actually, I talked about 4 different strategies you can use, and then people asked a lot of questions about exam corrections. So I'm making this video to clarify some issues and move forward. First of all, when it comes to exam corrections, I stand by my statement. It's the most important part of the learning. Learning doesn't take place until you can look at the answers to questions and figure out, where you messed up. So hopefully you're bought into that. But I do also want to point out there's always an opportunity cost to any policy, right? No policy is perfect. There's always a cost. So it's going to take time out of your class. There's instruction time you're going to lose when you go back and figure out what students missed, but it's always worth it. One teacher in the comments asked me, what about when students are absent? And that's a serious problem, right? If a kid's absent, that's a problem. Number one, I never let my test leave the room. That's the most important thing. My tests never leave the room. A student's doing exam corrections, the tests stay in. I don't let them get out there because obviously students, can cheat. If a kid's absent, that bites. If a kid's absent, well, that kid, as we're doing exam corrections, is in one of my colleagues' classroom doing the test. And so you're right, it's a problem. If a kid's absent for a week, then we have issues because the test got out. For me, I don't freak out about it. I give the kid the same test. I try to tell my students in a really, simple way, listen, there's no incentive to cheat here. There really isn't. You're gonna get this stuff, and if you get this stuff, you're gonna prove to me you understand it on the test. So the point is, if a kid's absent, they're making up the test while we're doing exam corrections. Now, part of my exam corrections, they cannot turn in their participation packet until they've done exam corrections. So if a kid's like, well, I'm not gonna do them, be like, well, you're not gonna get these 15 points of a participation packet, which includes, any worksheets we've done, any simulations we've done, any extra stuff along the way we've done in the unit, and your exam corrections, my objective sheet. So if you don't get to turn this stuff in, you're not gonna get these 20 points if you don't do exam corrections. I won't even accept the packet at all. There you go. It's a downside because kids are going to be absent, but the benefit versus cost, the benefit of exam corrections is too high. It's way too high. Some teachers say, well, I'll do it after school. Nah, although that might work, the students who really struggle are the least likely to come after school and do it. Here's a strategy though. This might help motivate students. Don't post the exam scores online, right, before the students know the results. Wait till they come into class. So although, they can have, the results right now. Here's the test score. Here's how you did. I don't want them to have that. I want to take the test. Then I grade everything, have their score. They come the next day and they'll have a big reveal. All right, and they all find out together. Here's your individual score. Here's how the overall class did. Because again, a kid who struggles might be like, oh, I don't want to go to Mr. Clifford's class and go do exam corrections for a test I got a 65% on or 52% on. And so the students don't know until they walk in the room. And I have them in the room. All right, here's your test score. And it also motivates them to want to show up that day. Like if a kid's thinking, oh, let's go to the beach or let's go, score with my friends. Well, I get to find out my score in the test today, increases their excitement, so to speak, for school. Also, they've got to do exam corrections at some point, and we're doing it in class. So they don't take a lot of time, though. I'm not taking an hour. I'm spending 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes doing exam corrections. So here's another awesome strategy that you absolutely have to use if you're going to do exam corrections. And I haven't done this for my first 5 or 6 years, and then when I started doing this, it kind of changed the atmosphere in the classroom. When you do exam corrections in the order of difficulty. In other words, you give the students a multiple choice test. If you have the big Scantrons, those old school Scantrons, to the machine, you run it through there, and there's something called an item analysis sheet. You run that through there too, and it tells you basically how the students performed on each individual question. So it says, 90% of the students got this one right, or 20% of the students got this one right. Anyways, I take that data, and how you get the data, I leave it up to you. There's different programs your school might already have, like, Illuminate or other things you can use online. The point is, you got to get the students' data, not your perception of the hard questions, but the students' performance on the questions, then organize them in medium or easy, medium, hard, and super hard. So this is key to the learning process, and here's why. I have my students do exam corrections in order of difficulty. So they're not going, okay, I'm going to, do question, 5 first. That's the first one I missed. That might be the hardest question on the test. Don't worry about question 5. Focus on the questions you should have got right first. So that's a great way to differentiate it. It also allows the students to realize, oh, I missed question 15. Now, 15 is easy. I should have got it right. It's in the easy category. Now, my categories, they change depending on the test, but basically, 90%, let's say 85 or 90% and above. So 90% of the students got it right. That's an easy question. Between, 70 and 90%, that's a medium. Between, 60 and 75%, or whatever is hard, and then, or maybe between 50 and 70% is hard, and anything harder than anything worse than 50%. So if more than half the students got that wrong, that's a super hard question. Now, of course, if you have 20 super hard questions, that's a bad test. The questions are too difficult for the students to feel like they're getting it. And I talked about that in the previous video about exam corrections and strategies you can use. But basically, here's a great strategy you can use with students. Try it in your classroom, see if it actually works, because I can testify to it. I've used it, and it's awesome. It's super helpful because the students are working on questions that they need to get based on their understanding. So if I'm a struggling student, I'm working on easier questions than on the hard ones. I'll do the hard ones later, or not at all. If a kid never gets to the super hard questions and you're a struggling student in my class, I don't care. Like, let's say you run out of time after 30 minutes of exam corrections and you don't have time to get to the hardest questions. That doesn't matter. You can still miss all of those and still pass the AP test for sure, or still understand the concepts of my class and just be fine. So doing exam corrections in order of difficulty is a great strategy. Try it in your classroom. Let me know if this was helpful in the comments below. I'm going to keep making videos. You keep telling me to do stuff, I will do stuff. Thank you for the comments in the last video. I promise if I didn't reply back to you, it's not because I'm ignoring you. I want to make a video to clarify any issues you had. But thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Please tell other teachers about this as well. Until next time.